I'm going to be walking through the Acumatica payroll side of the house, and I'm sort of starting with a little bit of a PowerPoint, 3 or 4 slides. And the reason I'm doing that is just to give you time to exhale a little bit, take in what you've seen, and then we're going to talk about inventory. And we're going to talk about inventory. Wow, we're going to talk about payroll. Inventory will be another day. We're going to talk about payroll and how we set it up. We're going to talk about the fact that inside of Acumatica, because employees are a concept that I use across the entire module set, from time card entry into construction accounting, even into field service and other functionality that we have, and CRM even. We separate the idea of an employee from an employee's payroll settings because there's personal data, important data that you cannot expose to the environment. So when we go and look at an employee setup, we're going to look at how we separate that critical information. We're going to look at a few payroll preferences, especially as they relate to things like certified job and Davis-Bacon requirements. Then we'll look at some time entry, and then we'll look at payroll batch management. Probably will not get the chance to do an entire payroll batch with you, but we will talk about the steps of doing that, and then we'll talk about reporting as well. The Acumatica payroll system built into Acumatica as a module, just like construction was. So the workspace is going to look just as you would expect it. It's going to have all the menu options available there. As an end user, you can turn on or off the menus that you options that you'd like available in your workspace, so you can have your quick menu and you can have your full menu as well. In Acumatica, because we are ERP experts, but we are not going to be.
Good afternoon. My name's Keith Gibson. I'd like to set up an appointment to see Dr. Epley. Got a
Keith, we can hear you.
Prescriptions that have ran out.
Keith, we can hear you actually. Okay, there we go. So anyway, we're ERP experts. We're not trying to be your CPAs or your tax experts. And so in order to bring you the best in tax information, we have teamed with Symmetry Software. Symmetry's only business is to track taxing information across the United States. Calculates all federal FICA, calculates all 50 states, including Puerto Rico and U.S. territories, and also calculates local taxes. What does that mean to you? It means that you do not have to be a tax expert either. It will look at state tax processing. It'll look at what happens if I cross state lines, where reciprocity and nexus need to be considered. It knows all of that. And it automatically updates Acumatica real time when there's an update coming for taxes. And it does it without you having to do anything significant except telling it, yes, I'm ready for you to update the taxes. So this is a valuable service. It comes with the payroll that you are purchasing. And it is a web service, so that it is also available anyplace, anywhere. No installs, no CDs or downloads. Everything is built right into that web cloud, so it's basically API driven. Additionally, we have partnered with Atrax eFile, which is the best way to file your tax forms. There are various subscription levels here. We've got the basic report level in the product, but you can actually have this automatically file for you. You can even have it automatically file and do your payments. So you will be working with Atrax, which is the best in the industry for payroll reporting, and that also is part of the Acumatica integration set. So let's go ahead and take a look then at the Acumatica payroll. So just like in construction accounting, Acumatica payroll can start with a dashboard. And I've got 3 specific dashboards that are significant to payroll. So the first one is operational. Anybody responsible for entering payroll, for tracking payroll processing, for making sure everybody is paid. This operational payroll will allow me to visualize what my current pay periods are, what pay periods or pay batches I have in process, information like when was the last time I paid somebody, when's the next time I'm going to pay somebody, if I've got changes or terminations coming up. And then if I have employees that have not had a payroll profile completed, and in my demo said I have that, I've got that information here and available. So it gives me a great way to visualize my processes within the system. We also have an executive view of the payroll inside of Acumatica. And what the executive view is going to do is give me that big picture view of what's going on in my environment. What's my headcount by department? What's my payroll costs by department? So these things are questions that managers or executives may have. And so this gives us a way to visualize that. And then finally, for those people who you are paying that have access to Acumatica, we can provide for them, based on their security and who they are, a personal view of the payroll system. So here I'm logged in as Maxwell Baker, as Michael talked about, and I can see my pay stubs. I can see what my PTO bank is, last time I got paid, days until my next payment. So it gives me a way to visualize here my own personal payroll and pull that information if and when I need to pull that. As I said, in Acumatica, we separate out the employee from the employee payroll settings. The employee window is used, as I said, in a number of different locations, whether that's CRM or whether it's construction accounting. My employees are the basis of the users in the system, the basis of people that I can assign tasks to. And when we build this information out for the employee, we build it out with information that's needed for management. Addresses, which are optional, but can be here if I want to expose those to an employee's manager. What positions they've held in the past. What accounting defaults they're going to have if I use them on a job. Other general information, what department do they work for? What company or branch do they work for? What department are they in? So this is all very broad corporate kind of information that's typically not too personal, or is typically not too informational as far as what you make, who you are, information like that. The second card that we have is specific to the payroll. And in the payroll information, now I get into real personal data that we cannot expose. And so we secure this to a very few or specific group of people that required to do their job. So generally it's going to be payroll clerks, maybe the payroll manager, HR manager are going to have access to see this, and nobody else really needs to be able to see this. In this record, we're going to have things like classes that we use to set up payroll. And what these classes will do, they will drive things like employee type, hourly, salary, time zones maybe, or what union they belong to. So we allow the classes to bring this information in, and then we override it if we need to on each individual specific basis. It will give us the right to override it if we have to do that. In addition to the general information, we also have the ability to set up taxes. And setting up taxes actually comes in two areas. The first thing we do is we allow our taxing software, which is Symmetry, to create what they expect a tax or a taxpayer in this particular area to require. So we click on import taxes, it brings in for us all the taxes that they would think that this employee is responsible for. Then we go through and do the detailed setup, Social Security information, W-4 information, anything that we need for the state W-4s. They all show up here so that we can fill these out. and that is the basis for the actual calculation of taxes that we will do on the payroll. We set up the compensation based on a standard rate. These standard rates are the bare minimum they will get paid. When I set up a per hour rate here in the employee payroll settings, that's the bare minimum. If, like this employee, I have them as part of a union, then we will compare the union rate to the minimum rate here, and the higher of the two rates is what you will pay. If this were Davis-Bacon or certified job, then we would have that evaluation done against this rate as well. So they would get paid the certified rate, the union rate, or this rate, depending on which is highest. We enroll our employees in deductions and benefits. We'll talk about certified benefits here in a second, but this would be the standard set of benefits that they would get enrolled in. We accrue paid time off based on a percentage or a flat amount per year. So if I am going to base it on a percentage, I have the ability to set up either an accrual percentage, hours per year, and we have different methods then that we use to create that accrual. When I run a payroll and I'm using percentage as I am here, then it will calculate a percentage of the hours based on that percentage I set here, and it will accrue up to the limit that I allow, and then it will carry over based on rules that we've set. And then finally, I can set up the payment type. Today, I'm going to be using a check type simply because that's what we show on the screen, but obviously direct deposit is part of what's available as well. I'm going to stop there. Questions about what an employee is in Acumatica and how we would set up an employee in a payroll environment. So in Acumatica, I can take any project that I have in the contract or construction accounting system and set that up to be a certified project. It's basically a switch on the project. And once that project's identified, then I can set up the rates and the deductions that are required for that project on a project by project basis. So here in our environment, I have a certified project set up. And for each of the labor types, and our employees are enrolled in these types, I have a base wage that they must receive. They have to receive this rate or higher for this certified job. And as I said, when I pay any of the employees that fall into this or put time against this certified job, then I will evaluate their base pay with the certified job and pay them the higher of the two. Certified jobs sometimes come with required deductions or benefit packages. In this case, I've got a required training benefit set up. And what I do there is that I set it up based on a contribution rate per hour. And then we determine whether we're going to add this to the employee's time or it gets paid to another person. But in this case, I'm adding a $2 contribution directly to the employee's gross pay. And then on my fringes, I take the fringe rates that are required by the job or by law. I set them up in the system, and then I will use the benefits that I'm actually paying my employee as a reduction of this benefit rate per hour. So if I have them enrolled in 401k or health insurance or health savings accounts, and I'm paying this, then that will become a reduction for this rate. Anything above and beyond what I'm paying out in a per hour rate then would be added to the employee's paycheck. And all of this, I talked about Atrix and the e-filing that's available through Atrix. All of our certified payroll jobs are filed through Atrix to the appropriate state authorities. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about time and expenses. With the next 10 minutes, I'll just talk about how we get information in and how we process it through the system. So information is added into Acumatica through employee time cards for payroll. These employee time cards can be entered here in the browser, or have the capability of entering these time cards in the mobile app, as Mike had said. In the mobile app, when I expose the time card, let me bring up my mobile app here. There we go. So when I am using my mobile app, I have the capability of entering an employee time card. The employee time card can be entered at a summary or a detailed level. So here I've got a time card started. And if I'd like to add some additional detail to this time card, I can open up the detailed menu, hit the plus here on the bottom, and we're going to add some time here. I'm going to select the project that I'm working on. I'll add the project task, and there's only one on that project. And I'll add the cost code or the cost code that's involved in that. Notice that it already defaults in my labor item that I'm responsible for. So that gives me a little default information that I have there. Going to enter the time that I spent on this. So if I spent all day, maybe I had a 10-hour day, I can go ahead and enter that time. And then I'm going to dictate some project notes that become part of that project detail. And once I hit save there, it automatically updates the back office. And if I look at this card in the back office, we will see that it is up to date. It will have my time on it for Monday and Tuesday. And we can go ahead and add the rest of this if we'd like to, but I'm going to go ahead and submit this. And what that does is it submits it to workflow. And workflow is defined by the individual organization. You can have any level of approval that's required. In this case, somebody from the executive work group is supposed to approve this, specifically Michael Andrews first, but if he's not available, anybody from the executive work group can approve that. This could be a project manager. This could be project management. Lots of ways to build these workflows, but I'm going to go ahead and approve that, and it will show who approved it once it's completed. Once that is approved, it's ready to release. When I release it, it makes it available to the payroll module. In the payroll module, I work with groups of employees to create batches. So I already have a batch started here for my construction team for week 45 of the year. And it doesn't include Victor, who we were just working on. So I'd like to go ahead and add Victor. So I can do that by adding bulk employees here. And what it will do is it will bring on the list of employees that are available for this batch. I just want to do Victor for right now, so I'm going to add Victor individually, and I'm going to ask it to bring the time activities in for Victor directly into the batch. We have 196 hours right now that are already in the batch. When I add this to the batch, we now have 214 hours, and the details or the earnings that I've got for Victor are going to be the individual time information that we've added previously. So it gives us all that information for Victor. Once we have it in the batch, we release it, and then we go ahead and process through our process. And basically what happens is a payroll batch, once released, we create a payment batch and then actually create the direct deposits. And at that time, we post that, and that becomes our total payroll.